Take it easy and solve the school lunch problem with SPAM. S-P-A-M.
こんにちは、タイガークローラジオ。You are listening now. Back J.
You are listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Number one in vintage computer and video game entertainment. And now your host, Critical Failure.
What's going on, guys? Critical Failure. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio, episode 202. I hope things are going well for you, my friends. We're going to have a good one. We're going to have a good time. Yes, we're going to have a good time. I promise when things ease up at work, I'm going to spend an afternoon where I go out into the internet and I find all sorts of fun, different things I can play here on the podcast. But until then, let's start with a Pterodactyl Squad release. This, making its second appearance on Tiger Claw Radio, is number 3, the Mossy album from Cetra, which is for a chiptune release. This is a long album. You're looking at, counting the gimmicky tracks, you're looking at 23 tracks on this album, guys. We played 2 of them, like maybe 3 episodes ago. So we're going to return to this album and play track number 7, which is called When I Was a Teenage Boar. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Ladies first.
Peterbilt.
I like that. You know, I wasn't sure about that album when I first downloaded it, but I really dig it now. It's good stuff. It's top choice quality chiptunes. All right, boys and girls. You know what we do here on TCR these days? Let's climb in the van and go to work. This week's Vancast, when I got out on the road, something pretty interesting caught my eye. Something just started happening right outside my window at the start of the Vancast. But you know what? Let's go there and figure out what happened. What's going on, guys? Critical Failure here. We're taking two. I had kind of a rough morning. I oh, I can see people arguing. Oh, look at that. There's some people arguing in the parking lot of that school right there. Look at him go. That lady's pissed. Oh, this is funny. I'm watching some lady yell at her kid. Oh, they got locked out of their car. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, man, I feel so much better. Look at them go. They're so upset. Sorry. Oh, boy, what's going on, guys? Critical Failure here. Playing a little Steam games, playing a little Famicom games, courtesy of my good friend Hemrock. Just wanted to run over a couple of things. I'm on the way to work right now, and I had kind of a rough morning. I did that move where like I forgot my badge, so I needed that. I can't get into the building without that, so I had to turn around and get it. Went back to the house. Turned out I had it the whole time. So I was like, oh, it's even worse. But after watching these three ladies locked out of a car, I think I feel better. I think I really do. And I'm still going to make it to my desk on time because I'm always early. So video games. Getting ready for work today. It was Street Fighter V, which I played. I'm working on the achievements for that game right now, which is ridiculous because there's certain, you know how like when you look at a game and you're going through the achievements list and there's certain ones that are like nobody can get these. Super Meat Boy's got them. You know, finish such and such a set of stages without ever dying. Gary's Mod is a game I tried really hard for the achievements for, but you're never going to get those. There's one. You have to play a game with Gary Newman. You have to let the game run for an entire year. You have to upload something to Workshop that's got several thousand likes. So you have to be a breakout success map maker, play with the actual developer, and play for over a year to 100% that game. Ain't happening, brother. Street Fighter V is the same way, but the list is long enough that I'm going for the ones that I think I can get, just to try and add some mileage to the game, you know. Well, I ranked up this morning, and then I ranked immediately back down. So, that was interesting. Ranking up was something I really wanted to do in Street Fighter. I guess I did it. I mean, I guess it happened. The way I always looked at it was you start at rookie and then you move to bronze. And if you go to forums, the bronze players are looked at as like the scum. So I figured, well, that's the rank they give you when you really become a player. If you're bronze to Street Fighter V, then you are a fighting games player. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted that little bit of legitimacy. And I played the game for 45 hours and I finally hit bronze. Now, my first bronze match. All right, my very first bronze match. Okay, so here's how it works. When you play ranked matches in Street Fighter V, you hang on a second, drive time. When you play ranked matches in Street Fighter V, they do it 2 out of 3. Okay, you can play the same guy for 2 out of 3, which, you know, if you beat him twice, you're done. If you beat him and then he beats you, then you get a tiebreaker. That's it. So I've had plenty of matches where before the match it'll say rank up chance for the opponent. The opponent will beat me. They'll rank up and then they'll come back for the second game. I'll beat them, but now they've been beaten by somebody who's a lower rank, so they rank right back down. So I knew when I got that rank up, okay, don't play the same guy again. Just quit. Just be done. So I quit and I went back to the queue and I was like, all right, let's have a new opponent. So the first opponent it gives me of my bronze rank is a super bronze Guile fighter. Now, guys, I wish I could I wish I could have figured out a way to turn these replays into like YouTube videos, because let me tell you, I could not touch this guy. It just wasn't happening. I halfway through the second round, I just put my controller down. I was like, all right, Do what you want. Have your way. I just want to go home and be done. But Street Fighter V remains a game that can make me feel things. I have these great triumph moments. I have these deep valley lows where it's like, oh, I never want to touch this game. A really bad moment I had was last night when I was playing it, and I looked at my record for the first time, like my career win-loss record, and I'm winning about 33%, like 1/3 of my matches. That's not a lot, right? So basically, I'm losing a ton, and then that one rare win comes around, and I'm like, oh, okay. This is enough to make me enjoy, to make the rest of it worth it. I think that's a fair statement, but I don't know. Seeing that record kind of hit home, I guess. So that's Street Fighter. I'm playing a couple other choice Steam games, but I'm also digging my Famiclone. I can't remember if I talked about this in the last episode or not, but it's the Technos Japan games are my favorite right now. Growing up, my favorite Nintendo game was always River City Ransom from Technos Japan, right? It's a fighting game. You could beat people up, take their money, and then go to the mall and buy muffins for power-ups, which I always thought was funny. Graphics were beautiful. It was fun to play, and it was simple. It was like easy, you know? Infinite continues, so that you didn't have to be really skilled to play it through, which as a kid I liked. So that game is like, there's a series of them, but we only got a couple of them in the States. We got that, and then like World Cups, Nintendo World Cup is one of those games. There's a couple others, but on the Famicom I have a dodgeball game that I like a lot, that I played all the way through. And there's this one game that I don't know the name of, but I can only think in my head to call it River City Relay, where basically you're using the kind of guys from River City Ransom, but you're running a race. It's a 4-player race, and each screen you just have to like race to the end, and you can like kick each other and kind of knock each other down. But this is about running, and it's kind of a dumb game, and it's silly, and to be honest, not super fun to play alone. But I'm playing this thing, and it's occurring to me, this has got to be the best party game ever. The best party game, second best party game, second only to Ricky Kunio. 4-player Smash-style beat-em-up, which is also one of those Downtown Neketsu, Technos Japan kind of games. So I'm digging that, man. Really digging it. I got to be honest, though. I don't know. Maybe you guys who know stuff about consoles can tell me. I don't know how you're supposed to play a 4-player game on legit Famicom hardware. How does that work? The controllers are hardwired in. How are you going to get 3 and 4 in there, right? The only way I can think to do it is to have a reproduction cart made and play it on the Nintendo, the American Nintendo. That's something I've never done yet in my video gaming career is have a reproduction cart made. I haven't bought one either, I don't think. I had one at my sites for a long time on AliExpress. Yeah, that's right. It was Contra. It was a Contra mod, and Sendu brought it up. I was like, "Hey man, you got to get this. It's $5." And I had it in my favorites list, and I was like, I don't know. And then one day I was even like, I'm gonna get this game when I get home. And I got home and I got busy and didn't do it. I wonder if I can still get that. $5 for a super hard Contra ROM hack. I'd pay that. Man, now I want to get like a reproduction card of some kind of ROM hack. Now it's like that's something I want to do. It's like all at once. Now that's a desire I have. I don't know. I'll sleep on it. That's a good one to come back with when we get back to the studio. Which is why it's Thursday morning now. So when we cut to the Comfortable Panzer Studios, it's going to be Friday night. So a couple days, a little less than 48 hours. Let me get some coffee. That's it, brother. Getting ready to go to work. Rather be at home playing games, but I'm determined to do what I gotta do, and I'm determined to make it okay. You know what I mean? I'm not just gonna walk in and be like, well, I've got to do my day at work. Got to sit at my old desk. Because I'll tell you what, 5 years ago, there's nowhere I would rather have been than right here, right now. Going to work at an office job where I don't have to swing a shovel and carry tools. Got a heck of a lot of blessings to count. Some mornings you just got to remind yourself to keep counting them, you know? Oh, hang on. All right. So I have some wins in Street Fighter and some losses, way more losses, leaving somewhat of a lukewarm taste in my mouth right now. And I gotta be honest, yeah, if I were back home right now, I'd probably pop in that River City Relay game, and I gotta figure out what it's actually called, because that's not the real name, that's the name I made up. That'd be great, man. That's a good game. I'm gonna learn more about that and get back to you. There's a lot of menus in Japanese that I can't quite navigate. Dodgeball was like that too, but I figured out there was one that I figured out just from trial and error was the difficulty one. It had 3 options, and I figured, well, if I move it all the way this way, then I'm playing on easy and the game becomes playable. So it's yeah, you can mash the button and get into the game, but sometimes it's worth it to figure out what those menus are saying if you can. But I don't know. That's one of the problems with playing import games. It has to be a game you know very well, a game that's got a simple interface, or you gotta slug it out and figure out what all that stuff does. All right, guys. I'll see you back in the comfortable Panzer Studios. We are back, safe and sound in the comfort of Panzer Studios. Oh, feels good, man. All right. So here's the deal. I've got a mighty fail bag. We've got quite the article from my dear friend Hemrock, which I want to dig into. But first, a couple of things. I want to take some time to thank the patrons. All right, this is a Patreon-supported podcast, and it's these guys who are chipping in of their own hard-earned money to help bring TCR back every single week. So I like to take a minute to recognize these guys. They are Hemrock, James, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Darabka, Six Out the Fury, and, of course, my dear friends, the Cartridge Brothers. Thank you guys so much. I truly hope that you feel like you're getting your money's worth. As a little tip of the hat to these gentlemen, I also give them a copy of the podcast as soon as it comes out. So they tend to get it Friday night as opposed to Monday morning. It's a small little token of appreciation. I wish I could do more Patreon exclusive stuff. I really want to do some music mix kind of things. I did one chiptune mixtape. I put it out on Patreon, and then a couple weeks later I released it on VidMe. I wish I had time to do more of that stuff. But for now, early edition, that's what I have to offer, that I can consistently deliver. So let's move on to the fail bag. Actually, you know what? What are we, 19 minutes in? Let's play one more track, and then we'll do the fail bag. This is from the same album, the Mossy album from Cetra. And this track's called Alley Dogs, hard jazz. And this sounds to me like a Streets of Rage kind of song. Kind of song you'd hear in a beat-em-up game. I don't know. Listen and tell me what you think. So nice. Primo choice. I dig that, man. That's a good album. I would say that album, it's got some fluff to it, but when it's good, man, it's good. All right, so let's do this. Let's jump right into the fail bag. Basically, you guys know the way this works. This is where we take advantage of the fact that TCR is a small operation, and we get to interact a little bit. If you have any questions, comments, if you know me personally, feel free to use my personal email. Send me a letter. Try and put in the subject line if I can read it on the air or not. Apart from that, any place where comments are accepted, where you get this podcast, you can leave a comment and it's liable to be read on the air. Primarily it comes from YouTube, but I also maintain a traditional email address, tigerclawradio@yahoo.com. And I do check that every single week without fail now that I have Thunderbird email installed, which is a marvelous program. So we're gonna start with YouTube comments, because I have some mighty emails from Hemrock, and it was mentioned to me recently by Alex Swingle that there are episodes of TCR. I mean, I think this is true for any podcast where comments are read. There are certain episodes where the comments really save the show. I'd say that's true for any interactive program. So I think this might be one of those episodes. So let's start with the YouTubes. And you got to bear with me because I got to navigate over there right now. I think I got some. Here's the thing. I think I have some for some old episodes. Yeah, here we go. I got a couple oldies that I want to look at. What episode was this? 196? Sendu writes, "You want a Master System? You can have mine for cheap. You know, you can always come to me for anything Sega." You know, Sendu, my old friend, I would really take you up on that. Let's hit each other up on the DMs and see what we can work out. I think that would be cool, especially since my Genesis is eventually going to be inherited by my son. You might remember, Sendu, years ago, I would say, you know, when my boy reaches 4 years old, I'm going to let him have my Sega Genesis, and it will be his. Well, he's 7 now. I didn't really understand how comprehension versus age worked, and I came to discover that 4 years old was still really too young to know what to know what a Sega was, or like have an interest in it. He digs video games, and he would like to own one, but I'm going to hang on till he's a little bit older, just old enough to, you know... Actually, he's getting there, but if I give it to him now, you know, his sister will destroy it, and it's going to cause fighting. He doesn't really have a place he can play it on all on his own. When he goes to play games, he and I usually go off together, and his favorite place to play is right in the thick of my stuff anyway. So I sit him down and I tell him, this machine here, this is the one I have set aside for you. But it's really still in the family collection, which is really the way I look at video games. I'm not the only person in my family who plays games, but I'm the only like really core gamer, I guess, as much as I hate that phrase. So I'm the curator of the family collection. That's really the way I look at it. So yeah, that would be awesome, dude. I would very much appreciate that. I think that might actually be the only old episode that had a comment left on it. I got a few comments from Sean on my... actually, you know what? I do want to read those on the air. I did a video about... I did a Return to Morrowind video. Now, I used to do Morrowind videos back in the day. They weren't rated very well, but now I feel like playing Morrowind is part of making videos. They kind of work in tandem. So I made a return video, tried to clean it up a little bit, and put it out. I got a couple comments on it. They are as follows. High sodium intake, lol. I like your Morrowind LPs. The spell you're talking about is Mark/Recall. Also, I would highly recommend Almsevi Intervention, Divine Intervention, Slow Fall, and Levitate. Those spells are going to cut down on the backtracking. And then he gives me a link to Morrowind transport in a wiki. Now, there's a couple other comments here from Swingle and Sendu, but I believe I read those on the air already. So thanks, man. It was really awesome that you watched it and commented on it, because I took some heat for this, but I was definitely like, at the beginning of that video, like, ah, man, nobody watches these. You guys don't watch nothing, and this is all silly, and I was kind of sulky. Yeah, and I got razzed for it a little bit, which I think was well-deserved. But it was cool that video did okay, as my Morrowind videos go. Alright, so now we got to go to what the actual podcast was last week. And that was episode 201, Famiclone Get. Ah, yes. So here we go. Death Adder writes, I liked the entering the car early Friday morning immersion. It sounded like you were stealing a car. I appreciate the extra immersion outside of just the regular talking into a microphone once in a while. I went to that multi-layered arcade at Disney a few years ago. Did they really close it down? That's okay. I'll just go to my local mall full of dozens of arcade machines. Remembers it's not 1990 anymore. Oh, S-word. F-U, Disney, F-U. If memory serves me correct, I believe they even had a Wreck-It Ralph arcade machine there. Resident Evil 1 was a pretty special game back in the day. I need to rebuy the HD remake and play it as an adult. An adult with every light on in the house. Also, thank you for the plug, good sir. I humbly and graciously accept your kind words, although they were unwarranted. My podcast is the only podcast on the next round where I get to listen to a man drive to the vet and get dewormer medicine and talk about Sub-Zero. You can hear my spirit breaking a little more each episode. Oh boy. Speaking of TV shows, I just watched the newest South Park episode via Hulu. It was effing terrible. The lizard people have truly ruined modern television. Oh boy, my friend. Got a lot to unpack on this one. I haven't been a fan of South Park in a very, very long time. I was excited about it in the 90s when it came out. And that kind of passed for me. We had cable in 1995 and I think early 1996. So I remember seeing ads for its premiere. And then we lost cable, and I didn't get it back until I was an adult. So that was like what they say, the heyday of South Park. So I didn't really get to take part in it at that time. I only really got to actually sit down and watch it when it was a shell of its former self. I remember the movie, and that's really it. So yeah, it's been around a long time, so I'm not really surprised if it's not quite what it used to be. What else we got here? That driving to the vet and talking about Sub-Zero. You know, I'll say this about your constant talk about Mortal Kombat. Every single time I hear you say it, you talk about Mortal Kombat, it makes me want to go back, not necessarily get the new one, but I'm looking it up in my Steam collection right now. I've got the Mortal Kombat collection, which is 1, 2, and 3. Faithful arcade ports on Steam. Now, it's not a great product. It uses games for Windows Live, and it has all sorts of issues with controllers. But there's fixes for that stuff now, and I did get it running. I know it works. I kind of want to get that running again, just to try it a little bit. I liked Sonya Blade in the early games, number 1. I think number 2, my go-to was either Raiden or Sub-Zero. And then in number 3, I can't remember. 3 was kind of a mishmash. I don't remember. I want to say it was Stryker, but I don't remember any of Stryker's moves. I jumped around a little bit. But yeah, those were good times. I'm not going to lie. I favor the Capcom fighters more. I think... I don't remember any of the moves, how any of that crap works in Mortal Kombat. So that would be difficult for me. I mean, there's a bit of a learning curve there. Alright. Resident Evil 1 is a super special game to me. I love that game. You should play it, especially the remake. That's good. Disney Quest. Yeah, they closed it down, man. You're right, though. They did have Wreck-It Ralph cabinets, which I didn't know how to feel about that because, come on. We know... think about what we know about video games. How did they make a Wreck-It Ralph cabinet? You know how they did it. They took old junk... They took old, Donkey Kong cabs or whatever, and they refurbished them, put a different board in them, and a couple of different stickers, and that was it. And you know what? There was a lot of them. There was like 6 or 7 of those things sprinkled around the building. So I didn't really know how to feel about those. But they did exist. That was a real game that you could play. And I guess I wish I had documented it a little more. Although, let's be fair, you can probably go on the internet and find full videos of Wreck-It Ralph, what it was, what it looked like. So thanks for the comment, man. I've been enjoying. I was at work and I listened to the last Death Adder Super Show, and you were really like, "Whew, yeah, I think I'm going to take a break from the hardcore interneting." But yeah, I've been enjoying the intake of Death Adder Super Shows. It has really been good. I encourage the taking a break. I think that's a good idea to recharge the old battery. But I'm going to start hassling you to come back after a couple of weeks have gone by. And I hope that you do. Let's see. Well, when would that be? Let's see. It's the end of September now. So you would probably be making like... end of the second week of October? So when is your release day? Would it be a Friday or a Monday? So you'd be like, there you go, Death Adder. Friday the 13th in October. That's like 3 or 4 weeks away. 4 weeks away. Shoot for a Friday the 13th return date. Wouldn't that be awesome? I would tune in to Friday the 13th with the Death Adder Super Show. Live from the murder cave. the murder... Alright, I'm going to move on because I feel like I'm going to start saying things that are going to get me in trouble. Alright, Retro Kaiser writes, I had a feeling my name was going to pop up when you said booby game. Might as well give you a TCR exclusive while I'm at it. Caladrius Blaze is going to be an episode of Schmuptober this year. Schmuptober! For those of you who don't remember, and shame on you for forgetting, last year Retro Kaiser did a special series where every day in October he released a video on a shmup, and they were good videos too, man. He really pulled it together and released a gigantic series, and I dig it. I really dig it. I didn't watch them all as they were coming out, but I definitely went back because it's YouTube, they stay up. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with this year. They were really good, and they're worth your attention when he starts putting them out again. All right, Dumaze writes, about rapid... Wait. Okay, we got 3 from Dumaze. He writes, you spelled it wrong. Caladrius Blaze. When I said prettiest, by the way, I'm not referring to the Animu girls. It's the actual graphics. I know that, Dumaze. That doesn't mean I'm not going to rag on you about it. Come on, brother. Come on, brother. I can rag on you just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just like this much. Just a pinch, right? You know I don't mean nothing. All right. He also writes about the Rapid Fire NES controllers. Whew. I found some generic brand. I forget its brand, but NES pad for $10 at a local used game store. It has a 10-foot cord, super long, rapid fire, and it's amazing. The D-pad feels awesome. The buttons are perfect, and rapid fire switches. Way better than the NES default pad in feels and functionality. It was a random gamble, but how awesome when I plugged it in with the huge cord, and how awesome it felt, and rapid fire. I gotta take my own advice one of these days. Hang on a second, there's a read more. And pop in Fester's Quest. It's been very long since last time. The game is basically Blaster Master without the tank stages. And he also writes, I didn't even know that you can shoot off their clothes. I have not gotten that far yet. I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, it's Caladrius Blaze? Caladrius Blaze? Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. Speaking of games and shooting, Out of the Park Developments is releasing a new... I know, it's a terrible segue. I'm still an amateur, guys. Come on, bear with me. I gotta throw this out of here before I get 2 things. Out of the Park Baseball. Those guys, they also have a series of hockey games, and their latest one is coming out. They sent me the press release, and I didn't post it on my blog yet because I've been crazy busy. but they let me have a copy of Franchise Hockey Manager 3 last year, and I really dug it. It was good, man. It was a good game. Especially the putting JPEG images as pictures of custom hockey players, which was good for plenty of memes. This new version, I don't have the notes in front of me, but I know that they've added Commissioner Mode, which is badly needed. Commissioner Mode is something that the baseball series had. It's basically like you're playing in God Mode. That's what it is. So they've added God Mode where you can make all the changes and just have fun in a crazy sandbox, but with a hockey game. So I'm looking forward to that one. That should be cool. Now let's go to the kingfish of tonight's fail bag. I'm going to flip down here. You know what? I know how to handle this. I'm just going to put in his name. Hemrock. Find me all the Hemrock emails, please. Thank you. Epic fail bag. And is it ever? So this is from my good friend Hemrock. How deep are we in? Okay, good. 38 minutes. So I got plenty of time to go through all this material. And he writes, "Hey CF, thanks for keeping TCR going. I'm a bit bummed at the moment. I'm writing to you after realizing I've misplaced my Arctilad hardback strategy guide. Today I was on the road listening to your podcast and it got me in the mood to pick up Arctilad 2 again. Since I hadn't played it in a few months, I was going to take a look at the strategy guide and reorient myself and figure out what I need to do next. And now I can't seem to find the book. Unfortunately, it's a bit pricey to replace. Maybe writing this email will make me feel a little better. Anyways, I'm glad to hear the Famiclone made it and you're enjoying it. Sorry that the 2 controllers didn't work. I didn't realize that when I sent them to you. I just found 4 controllers in the bag when I pulled it out of storage. Speaking of controllers, you might want to try a Sega Genesis controller on that Famiclone. It's the same plug and probably has a longer cord than the ones I sent. I know a Genesis extension cable works if you need a longer cord. They're about $6 online. I've played more of Heroes Realm. That's a pretty good RPG, especially considering it's free. I still highly recommend it. How's the Monster Cast coming along? Do you have a release date set? What guests will be featured? I know this might be a little late, but I want to mention there's a few people who'd be great to have on the show. Burger Rider, Triverse, Norm the Gaming Historian, and Derek Alexander of Happy Video Game Nerd fame. Alright, Hemrock, I'm going to stop this email right here just to kind of comment on what you got out so far, because there's a lot. there's a lot here. So let me put a mark here as far as I've gotten. Yeah, so strategy guides, right? I like a good strategy guide. I used to have a used bookstore near me that closed down. But while it was around, I would buy the strategy guides that would show up there. Okay? They would show up for like $1 or, $2 or something. And I don't have many good ones. But the ones I do have, I really enjoy. I like strategy guides for older games because I think the older, more complex games, I'll say that. I've got a strategy guide for Alpha Centauri, Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri. I have the Prima strategy guide for Civilization 3. Now, it's not a complete guide. Doesn't have in some of the information is inaccurate because of the expansions. Like it says, you can't play without barbarians. But then an expansion came out that made it so that you could. So if you buy it on Steam, it's not exactly accurate. Still a fun guide. I've got a beautiful guide for EverQuest, which it was $1. I got it. I'm looking up at the shelf now, and even right here, I've got a guide for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. That's a great guide. I know when Skyrim came out, there was a guide that was like the size of a phone book that was circulating. I want to get that guide one day. But for Oblivion and even Skyrim, those are so... Like, unless you're playing the vanilla experience, it's like, what's a guide going to tell you? So those I wonder about. But I like guides, because I like tangible, things. More often than not, I would read them away from my computer, like between sessions. My older brother is also a guide guy. He likes the Disgaea games. And I remember him... I can't remember if it was Disgaea 3 or Disgaea 4, but one of those two, he had like the great big guide, which is a very big guide, and he would play with the guide accessible and kind of play along. I think that's a neat way to play games. I really dig that stuff. So about the Monster Cast, you know, I got some good footage, but I don't have enough to really release yet. So I think I'm gonna have to push the release back to the holiday season. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. Again, I said this last week. I'm trying to get Michael Smith on. I think that would be a great interview because he and I had a little bit of tension. It'd be a good chance to not only bury the hatchet, but also see how he's been doing, because he started a family, so he has not been back making content. So it would be really cool to talk to him. But when we set up a date to record, I completely forgot that there's a huge time difference, and we just kind of sailed past each other. HVGN, I don't really talk to anymore. Derek Alexander, that guy, I know he's still making YouTube videos, but he has moved on with his life pretty far, and God bless him for that. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in many years. I'm not above writing him an email, but I don't know. See, the last time I had him on, when I used to talk to him, I still kind of thought like he was like my hero for a long time, you know? So I remember having him on along with Calvin Hansen. I think this might have even been the last Monster Cast. And I kind of let myself get walked on a little bit. And I don't think I would deal with that very well right now if that happened today. And so I wish him all the best in the world, but I'm probably not going to have him on TCR again just because we've kind of gone our separate ways. I don't know. You know, maybe that's not fair to say. Maybe I should shoot him an email and just see what happens. I don't know. Burger Rider, I would go far and above the Call of Duty if it was possible to get Burger Rider on the podcast. Oh man. I would do it. I would get Burger Rider on, and that would be the Van Cast, or that would be the Monster Cast. Just however long I could keep him on the air, that would be a thing of beauty. A living legend like the Burger Rider. Who, by the way, his skills are not on trial. I gotta be honest though, I don't know if I would put that on the Monster Cast, not because I don't think he should be on it, but because if I recorded with Burger Rider tonight, you can bet money that would be on the internet tomorrow. I would not want to sit on footage from Burger Rider. But yeah, man, I'd love to have Burger Rider on. Gaming Historian's a good guy, but I never once interacted with him. Not even in my days on Retroware TV. He was around then, but I never interacted with him. I remember he was trying to get a teaching gig, and so he had to pull all his videos down for a short while. But I don't think I never interacted with him directly. I just remember hearing all that on the Ben and Derek Random Show. And now another thing is now he's huge. Derek too. Both of those guys are huge now. Like they used to have 10,000 subs. Now I think Derek is pushing 80,000. He's got himself a nice following. I don't know if either of those guys would cut off a few minutes for their old pal CF. I don't think that. You know who I'd love to have on? Who's big more than those two guys? Gamester81. Now that's a guy I really want to talk to. I got to meet him at MagFest like 4 years ago. Hell of a guy. Now that's a guy who's huge, but like as soon as he starts talking to you, then you're in the group. He's one of those guys, which is I think somebody who's like building a career or building a following on top of just being an awesome dude. I think those are the people that are really worth reaching out to, which is one of the reasons why I like Burger Rider. Because I don't see any. I mean, with that guy and all of the charm that is the Burger Rider and Burger Rotor channels, I see nothing but like a dude. I don't see a speck of any corruption or anything like crazy political on either side. I just see a dude. That's it. Triverse is a perfect pick. I absolutely want to have Triverse on the Monster Cast, especially since he was on the last one, man. And I touched base with him. He wrote to me, Triverse! Yes, I'm really bad at responding to those emails, but God bless him. He's still out there hustling. All right, so let's go back to the email, guys. Give me a second here. Actually, you know what? Let me make sure this is all recording. I think we're good. Yeah, we're good. He writes, speaking of the YouTubans, I miss Burger Rider. His videos were so raw, and I liked that. It doesn't seem there's many people out there doing that anymore. Or maybe there are, but the way YouTube organizes his videos, they never get any hits. Burger Rider reminds me of another somewhat older YouTuber, dubbed Heaven's Frogman. Did you ever watch his vids? CF here? No, I have not, but I'm going to look him up if you're comparing him to Burger Rider. Let's get back to the email. In one of your recent podcasts, you alluded to the fact that you dual boot Windows and Linux. Just a word of warning, I too dual boot Windows and Linux. It wasn't until recently that I started using my Windows partition more. I had the unfortunate experience of having Windows 10 reconfigure my computer without my permission, where it would not boot to the grub interface. Basically, my computer would only boot to Windows. Changing the boot order in the BIOS wouldn't help me because Linux and Windows installs were on the same disk. Unfortunately, I was able to fix... I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you because it sounds really awful. I was able to fix my problem by booting a USB stick that contained a program that reconfigured the settings. Windows 10 is scary. Alright, we're taking a break because I want to address this. Yes, Windows 7 didn't do that, but I've heard, especially from Spatry, you know Spatry, right? I think you told me about him as well. He ran a podcast called Cup of Linux. Or, no, that's his channel. What was his podcast called? It's like Sunday Nonsense or Sunday Night Nonsense or something. Spatry's Cup of Linux. He talked about Windows 10 and about how Windows 10 had a rash of just removing people's Linux partitions. I don't think 7 or even 8 did that, but I have a battle plan if it happens. You see, my sensitive data isn't kept on my hard drive, right? My family photos, none of that's on my local hard drive. My local hard drive is just thousands of games. and of those, I think the ones I really care about store the saves in the cloud. I would lose some things if everything went down. I'm not saying I have no, I'm not sensitive, but I'm not saying I have no data I want to save. But if Windows destroyed my Linux partition, I have live boot USBs. When I set up my Linux, I kept that live boot of what I'd been using, which is still Cinnamon, by the way. Linux Mint Cinnamon on this machine. So yeah, I'm pretty confident I could fix that if that happened, because I kind of always knew that was a possibility. But yeah, Windows, you're right. Windows 10 is scary. That's why I'm running Windows 7, dude. What are you running Windows 10 for, man? These guys like Joe Collins and Spatry, I know you watch these guys, or at least a little bit. So you must know what they do, what Windows 10 does. God bless. Hang in there, man. Because that, and you know what else makes me not want to do it is when you turn off all of the privacy things so that you can not be tracked, and then there's an update and it turns them all back on. That was something. I know this is a tangent, but I was looking at one of my Linux news sites that I go to. Something they've been trying to keep afloat for a while is the idea of a Linux phone, right? Linux phones have been tried a couple of times in the past. I think Canonical had a project going for a while and it went belly up. Apparently, according to the people I listen to who talk about Linux, mostly Brian Lunduke, but Canonical has a long history of starting projects and then just giving up on them. But now there's a reason to get people to rally behind the idea of a Linux phone, and that is privacy. You can get a Raspberry Pi kit now, and you can get a couple of parts, and you can build your own phone. That's something you can do today with a Raspberry Pi, and that's a phone that will not have a GPS locator in it, and it will not have tracking devices tracking software in the operating system. Those things that come normal on any Android phone or any iPhone. I'm not saying it's impossible to track you. I'm just saying the hardware itself won't track you. So that's the thing you can get today. Now, I saw a video of a company that is building a phone, basically the same kind of thing, but it's a smartphone, but a smartphone that's open hardware that you can just, put a Linux distro on. Like you could put Ubuntu on it and make calls. I like that idea. I really like it. Now, it was one of these short tech videos kind of things, like how much do I know about it? Nothing, but we'll see. If it becomes a real product, I would do something like that. I would get that. I would sacrifice a lot of what my Android phone gives me for a Linux phone that is private and open. You imagine how sweet that. Look, Linux now has a. You can get Steam on Linux. You can have a phone that will actually log into your account and play Steam games, which is really where all my computing goes back to. It's how can I get this to run Steam? Can this run games? I don't know, man. It seems like an exciting development, but we'll see what actually happens. Let's get back to that email, because this is really big, and I'm going through it really, really slowly. Oh, boy. Yeah. So, Hamrock writes, jeez, I'm not even halfway through this thing. Did you happen to purchase that Pac-Man collection on eBay? Is it good? CF here, yes, it's good. I didn't repurchase it. I bought it many years ago, and it got stolen. I like it. If you like Pac-Man, that's a good port. Yes, it's good. Back to the email. As you said, and yes, as you said recently, I agree the Game Boy Advance is awesome. I have the Game & Watch collection on my radar now. I just got back from vacation and bought my DS and a few GBA games and DS games with me. The game I played most was Yu-Gi-Oh! Ultimate Masters Championship 2006. I gotta check and see if I have that. For GBA. It was my first time really getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! I enjoyed it. But I've realized I'm not very good. The amount of variability in that game is staggering. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And somewhat intimidating. Are you into Yu-Gi-Oh? I actually might prefer Duel Masters instead, because it's simpler and easier to get into. Duel Masters also feels more like Magic the Gathering than Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the things that I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is there doesn't seem to be an overarching theme. The cards are all over the place, whereas with Magic... I'm sorry, I read that wrong. One of the things I don't like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is there doesn't seem to be an overarching theme. Cards are all over the place, whereas Magic the Gathering, many of the cards have a high fantasy theme going on. What are your thoughts about these franchises? CF here. Magic the Gathering, I think, did very well with their theming, especially with the sets. I mean, I remember buying Homelands and Weatherlights when they were brand new for Magic the Gathering, and they had their own, Weatherlights had their own storyline, and all the cards kind of followed that storyline, and depending what color. I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is themed as well, but you got to understand, Yu-Gi-Oh! is it doesn't have as much mythos to rest on as Magic the Gathering does. Magic, they can make it look, they can rely on ripping off Tolkien. They can go in a few different directions. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a bit more, everything, it just all feels like Saturday morning anime for the kids. But that's okay. I dig that. It's just a different thing, and it's a different appeal. And I agree that Magic the Gathering offers more depth. But in my grown-up age, maybe the simpler shade and various the softness of the theming. Maybe I'm okay with that these days. Let's get back to the email. Europa Universalis 3 is a great game. I'm sorry to hear that you don't think your audience is into it. What country do you play as? CF here. I play as Castilla because I'm a terrible pleb that likes to play on easy mode. I play as Castilla every time, and I play the Grand Campaign. So it's not Spain yet. It's Castilla. But yeah, I like it. I'm doing pretty well now. I was playing it last night. I formed a military alliance with Portugal, and my goal was to successfully invade Aragon and take it over. And I had a successful invasion. I captured 3 provinces, and I was fine. But after that third province, Then they called in all their allies. It was weird that they didn't to begin with. So then I went to war with the Ottomans. No, not the Ottomans. Then I went to war with England and a couple others. So that didn't go very well. But I'm enjoying it. I'm going to hit 100 hours. It's a good game. Returning to the email, he says, I'm liking the Return to Morrowind video. I'm watching it as I take breaks from writing this email. The spells you're looking for are called Mark and Recall. I believe at least one of them can be found in the Temple of Balmora. What mods do you play with again? I know you got one that increases the gold of the shopkeepers. What others? Alright, taking a break from the email here. I have a couple that add a house, right? Your house kind of thing. They just add little empty homes where you can go stash everything. One is added in Balmora. One is added in Sedyanin. I know I'm saying it wrong, but it's that first little fishing wharf. I had another one I used for a while that expanded that fishing wharf. Just added another couple piers, a boat, a couple of things just to that village. What else do I use? Arrows do not have any weight was a big one. That was the first mod. It's like, okay, this is what I have to have now. I think that might be it. But I'd have to go back and check. Those are the ones I know off the top of my head. Alright, let's get back to the email. Oh, hang on a second. My throat's starting to hurt. We gotta go fast. You mentioned using water and Q-tips for NES or Famicom games. If I might be so bold, I suggest you ditch the water and either use rubbing alcohol or Windex instead. I think water has a tendency to rust/corrosion. Hey, I'll give it a shot. Oh, Disney Quest, I'm sad it's been shutting down. I've been there a couple of times. Years ago, I thought it was awesome. I wish I had the chance to go back there and enjoy it one more time before it closed. I remember liking that place better than some of, if not all, the parks when I went back there in 2006. So you've been talking about some modding. Have I ever given you my Civilization 2 mod? I recently updated it this summer. It's kind of an ongoing project. I made several modifications to include faster movement, more resources, more technologies, more units, more artwork for every unit except the nuke, increased unit speed, increased unit attack, decreased unit defense. The latter two changes were to address the annoyance that the AI is not the sharpest tool in the shed. And it's very easy to set up impermeable defenses against it. It's much more difficult to do that now. The mod is meant to be played with barbarians and using a higher difficulty setting. Alright, let's go back to take a quick break. No, I have never been given your mod, but I still have that beautiful, gorgeous, complete in box Civ 2 you sent me. I would love to give it a shot. Let's get back to the email. That's amazing. The developer of MenuWorks left a comment on your DOS video. Yes, it is. The Office. I used to love that show back in the day. I got hooked on it pretty early on. My roommate back in 2005 showed me the trailer. I'm not really a TV guy, but something about The Office really drew me in. I think it was the humor of Michael Scott. I stopped watching the show around the time Steve Carell left. I watched a couple more episodes after that, but something had changed. I have never followed a television sitcom so closely before or since. One of my favorite episodes is The Injury, when Michael somehow burns his foot on his George Foreman grill. Classic. Have any episode favorites? I got one for you. One that sticks out to me the most is one that Death Adder talked about, where Dwight kills Angela's cat. And to console her, he buys her a new cat, or like a new cat, finds a cat from his farm. And he said, "This is Garbage." And that's the cat's name. And I thought that was hilarious, and I thought it was adorable at the same time. And Death Adder often refers to Garbage the cat in his neighborhood in homage to that episode. So I think in hindsight, that's one of my favorites. There were other really good ones too. I remember I went hiking with my brothers on the Appalachian Trail. Appalachian Trail is pretty close to where I live. It runs through Maryland, going up and down the East Coast. And this was years and years ago, and they had just released that one episode where they do the dinner party with Michael and Jan. And I remember the whole time we were out on this hike, we kept singing the Hunter song. Remember? Took me by the hand. That's all I can remember about it because it was years ago. But it was good stuff, man. All right. Have you ever thought about bringing back the old style fail bag of reading posts on game facts as your questions written into the show? Yes, I would love to do that. I think about that all the time when I'm actually out on the internet reading, but it requires more prep than I have time for. So not in this current era of TCR, but I'd love to bring it back one day. Here's one for you. What games do you think should be included in the classic N64 edition? That's tough because I'm not a big fan of these whole classic systems. I think they're kind of silly, but a couple of games that should be in it. Mario 64, if that's not in it, then you don't have a system. Ocarina of Time, if that's not in it, you don't have a system. Majora's Mask, if that's not in it, you don't have a system. On top of those three, I think those are kind of easy picks, so I'll give you another one. Jet Force Gemini is an old favorite of mine. Quake is also an old favorite of mine, but that would not make it onto one of those thingies. That's if Jet Force Gemini. I think if Jet Force Gemini was on it, then you would have me as a potential buyer. GoldenEye, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Although, come on now, Rare and Nintendo don't really get along anymore. So, I don't know. I would look for Jet Force Gemini. That would be the game. Maybe Diddy Kong Racing. My son loves Diddy Kong Racing, or did when he was a kid. All right, let's go ahead. Excuse me. Let's go on. He says, "Here's my picks: Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Perfect Dark, Jet Force Gemini, very good. Ogre Battle 64, Super Smash Brothers, very good pick. Didn't think of that. Mario Kart 64, also good. Mario Tennis, Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer, Pokemon Snap." Well, I look forward to the next TCR. Keep rolling retro. Awesome behemoth of an email. How long have we been running now? 1 hour and 4 minutes. Let me do this. My throat is super sore. There were 2 addendums to this email. How big are they? Oh, yes. Okay, they're readable. He says, "I just found out my favorite game that I played at PAX South 2017 got funded on Kickstarter. It's based on a board game called Evolution. Here's the link. It's called Evolution, the video game. Video does a decent job of summing it up. I better get off to bed. As always, keep rolling. Retro. Hemrock." And one more addendum. He writes the very next day, he writes, excuse me, "CF, for what it's worth, I found my Arc the Lad strategy guide. I figured I could have used game facts to figure out where I was in the game, but there's something about having a physical book in my hand with glossy photos. Yes, there is, especially with a bookmark where I last used it. Anyway, the find prompted me to get back playing Arc the Lad 2. Last question of the week, do you ever use strategy guides and or game facts? Stay classy, TCR. Hemrock. We talked about strategy guides earlier, but a couple that I forgot were Tomb Raider guides. I have guides for Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider 3, and they are beautiful. Beautiful. I'm not above using them for those games because I've played them so much. I've already attacked them without the guides. I feel like I've already given them that chance, and I'm not being, I'm not robbing myself of anything. Yeah, I think guides are great, man. I like them, especially the old guides when they're colorful and, like you said, they have those glossy photos and stuff. That's cool, man. Right? Isn't that why we used to buy a Nintendo Power back in the day? All right. I'm dead tired. So let's wrap this up quick because I want to go to bed. Hang on. Tell you what. Let's do this. All right. Okay. Now I'm ready to do this. If you've made it, whatever has brought you here, 1 hour and 6 minutes and 30 seconds into Tiger Claw Radio, I hope your life is good. And from one human being to another, I hope that you're holding on, because that's what I'm doing. All right? I will see you guys next week. Let's go out there and make it a good one, huh? I'm rooting for you.